I have given each of the top 101 NFL free agents a destination for free agency that I believe is going to be 100% correct. At the time of making this video, I have certain players that have been signed now in the news. So Aaron Jones returned to the Vikings. I got that one correct. However, DK Metcalf getting traded to the Steelers, I did not see coming. I had him going to the Chargers. Devontae Adams signed with the Rams, and I thought he'd go to the Packers. Austin Hooper to the Patriots, I got correct. Nick Bolton, I had him going back to the Chiefs. However, I said if he wasn't going to go to the Chiefs, it would have been the Broncos. I'll give that like a half. Ernest Jones, I said would go to the Steelers, but he re-signed with Seattle. And then Jermaine Sherwood, I got correct, re-signing with the New York Jets. So let's jump right into where I believe all 101 NFL top free agents are going to land. Starting with the quarterbacks, here is where I believe the top 8 quarterback free agents in the NFL are going to land, starting with Sam Darnold, who I believe is going to go to the Seattle Seahawks following the Geno Smith trade. I think it makes sense for Sam Darnold. I think it makes sense for Seattle. He's still young, and Seattle seems to be in some sort of rebuild. You could get your quarterback right now. Number 2, I have Justin Fields going back to the Steelers. I think Pittsburgh getting DK Metcalf is a good indicator that Justin Fields is going to need all the help he can get, and the Steelers see that too. Next is going to be Jameis Winston. I have him going to the New York Jets. I think the Jets may look to draft a quarterback, but getting a guy like Jameis Winston could be good. Aaron Rodgers, I had him going to the Vikings, but following Myles Garrett extending in Cleveland, I believe they're actually going to go with Aaron Rodgers for Cleveland. So I have Aaron Rodgers going to the Browns now, and I have Russell Wilson going to the New York Giants. Then I have Daniel Jones going to the Los Angeles Rams to back up Matthew Stafford. Then I have Jimmy Garoppolo going to the Minnesota Vikings. I can see him maybe producing in Minnesota or having some sort of competitive battle with J.J. McCarthy. Finally, I have Jacoby Brissett going to the Tennessee Titans to back up Will Levis. Give him some mentoring, man. Next up, we have the top 12 NFL running backs. Definitely not 12 NFL running backs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Here were the top 8 NFL running backs are going to land for free agency, starting with Aaron Jones. Of course, he did return to the Vikings. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I did get that correct. So then the next one would be Najee Harris. I believe he's going to go to the Chargers. They need a running back, and it doesn't seem like J.K. Dobbins is going to stick around. Then I have J.K. Dobbins actually going to the Chicago Bears. They need a running back. They need to let go of Swift. He's obviously not the answer, and J.K. Dobbins is still young. I'm going to go Nick Chubb next, and I think he's going to go to the Dallas Cowboys, who said they may tend to spend a little bit more. I think that they should get a proven running back that can be good for about another 2 years. Then I have Rico Dowdle to the Las Vegas Raiders. I think Dowdle has Vegas written all over him. I think Pete Carroll still will draft running back, but Dowdle is an excellent running back too. Then I have Kenneth Gainwell going to the New England Patriots. He is the exact James White role that they have been missing. Antonio Gibson isn't exactly that, and I think that they'll go after Kenneth Gainwell. Next, I have Javonte Williams going to the Cleveland Browns, going all in on this rebuild. I think that they're going to need a new power back with Nick Chubb leaving, and Javonte Williams would be a solid choice. Finally, I have Gus Edwards going to the Denver Broncos, who are going to need a new power back with Javonte Williams leaving, and that's it for the running back room. Not a big free agency for running backs, unfortunately. Next up, we've got 14 wide receivers, and I know exactly where all 14 of the NFL free agent wide receivers are going to go this offseason. First up, I have Chris Godwin getting signed to the New England Patriots. They're going to give him back since they missed it on DK Metcalf, and obviously weren't going to get Devontae Adams. Maybe they make a trade for Cooper Kupp. However, I could also see Chris Godwin signing with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's really those two are the only options I see. Obviously, I said before, DK Metcalf went to the Steelers via trade, and Devontae Adams went to the went to the Rams, and I had those two incorrect. However, I do believe Amari Cooper will sign with the Kansas City Chiefs. He's going to want to stay with a contender. I don't know if he cares too much about getting a bag. And then I have Cooper Kupp getting traded to the Denver Broncos. I know he's not a free agent. However, I'm including trades in this one. I think Cooper Kupp is going to go to the Denver Broncos. They'll give up a 5th-round pick without question. And then I have Stephon Diggs going to the Dallas Cowboys and joining his brother Diggs or his cousin. I know they're related. And then Darius Slayton This one is a little bit odd, but I think he's going to go to the Baltimore Ravens. He just seems like one of those Ravens receivers where it's like they sign someone every single year. He's like Nelson Aguilar. Then we have Mike Williams. I had him going to the Rams, and I'm going to keep that even though they signed Devontae Adams. I think they could use a jump ball receiver like that. They've looked for it in Allen Robinson. They've kind of found it in Demarcus Robinson. However, I can see them signing Mike Williams. Then I have Keenan Allen going to the Los Angeles Chargers. He said he wants to do Rams, Chargers, or Bears. And now that the Rams have signed Devontae Adams and they're looking to trade Cooper Kupp, maybe that I can see Keenan Allen just going to back to the Chargers and playing with Justin Herbert. Then I have a good one for the Philadelphia Eagles. Elijah Moore filling in the slot role for the Eagles would be excellent for them. High end potential there for the Eagles, and I think they can get it done on a cheap deal. Then I have a sleeper one, DeAndre Hopkins going to the Detroit Lions. They need another wide receiver, one that's a little bit more reliable. He'd be a solid rotation piece for Detroit. And then I have Tyler Lockett going to the New York Giants with Russell Wilson. I think that they reunite. I think that they're a duo package. They're going to go where the other one goes, I believe. And then I have Nick Westbrook-Ikhine to the Atlanta Falcons. I think they could use another wide receiver. They need some more depth in that room. Drake London and Darnell Mooney are not the only players you could have. And then finally, I have Brandon Cooks going to the Las Vegas Raiders. I think Vegas would be interested in Tyler Lockett, but if they missed out on him, I think Brandon Cooks has to be the move there. Moving on, we have the tight ends. Here's why I believe the top 3 tight end free agents are going to land in free agency. Up first, I have Evan Ingram, and this is where I think the Chargers spend big. I think that they're going to spend all of their cash if they can, getting Justin Herbert, a good tight end, and Evan Ingram. I think it'd be a great move for them. Then I have Jawan Johnson reuniting with Sean Payton in Denver, and I think finally I had Austin Hooper to the Patriots, and obviously that has already happened. So those are the tight ends, not very many. There's only really 3 that are worth mentioning. Finally we have, or next, not finally, this is finally for the offense. We have the offensive linemen. Starting off, we've got Cam Robinson going to the Kansas City Chiefs. I think that they still could use a tackle. I know they spent money on Trey Smith, but they definitely need help on either side of the O-line. Also could see them getting DJ Humphrey, so one of those 2 players I think will be a Kansas City Chief. Also, I don't have Ronnie Stanley on this list, but if you missed the news, he did sign a 3-year extension, I believe, for it might be 4 or 3 years, $60 million extension with the Baltimore Ravens. I would have thought he was going to the Patriots. I thought they would have given him so much money, but he decided to stay in Baltimore. So with that being said, I do have the Patriots signing Patrick McCary and Aaron Banks to their offensive line, one of the weakest in the entire NFL. The Patriots definitely need the help. Then I have Tyron Smith, who's either going to retire or he's going to go back to the Dallas Cowboys. They could still use a tackle on the offensive line, and I can see him going back home to Dallas. Then I have Dan Moore Jr. going to the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks offensive line is one of the worst in the NFL, always been an issue for them, and they could use Dan Moore Jr., who's steadily improved over each season. Then we have Jedrick Willis, who has never really panned out for the Browns, but I have him going to the Las Vegas Raiders, them taking a chance on him. Whether he's a depth piece or actually plays, who knows. Then I have Drew Dahlman going to the Bears. They need all the offensive lineman help they can get, and that is the best available center, I believe, for the Bears to go and sign. Then I have Will Fries going to the Jags. He should be team's top priority at guard to going and get. Now, Will Fries is an excellent guard. Colts would be missing out on him a lot, and I think he signs with a division rival in the Jags who desperately need offensive line help. Next, I have Mekhi Becton, also a guard that people are going to be wanting, but is he a system guy? Who knows? I think Miami Dolphins throw some cash at him, or the cash they do have, at Mekhi Becton to improve that O-line and hope Tua doesn't get any more concussions. Next, we have Tevin Jenkins to the Arizona Cardinals, and then Brandon Sheriff, I think, will end up back at the Commanders. I believe he already played for Washington, and I think he returns then. Now I have Trent Brown to the Jets, who are going to need a new offensive lineman if Tyron Smith leaves. And finally, Josh Myers to the Seattle Seahawks. That is it for the offensive side of the ball. We're moving on to defense, which is a lot more exciting. So starting with the edge, I've got 12 edge rushers. These are where I believe the top 12 free agent edge rushers are going to end up this offseason. Number 1, I've got Josh Sweat to the Cardinals. They can throw a bag at him. They need pass rushing. I think that they should go all in on this move. Number 2, I have Hassan Reddick to the Atlanta Falcons. They also desperately need pass rushing help, and he could be a cheap option for them. It's not like they exactly have a ton of money to play with. Third, I have Khalil Mack signing with the Lions. They also need the help, obviously, if they're signing an edge rusher, but he'd be a great rotation piece to give Aiden Hutchinson some time off, or just having him on the opposite end of Aiden Hutchinson would be great. Fourth, I have Malcolm Kuntz signing back with the Las Vegas Raiders. Harold Landry did go to the New England Patriots, and I got that one correct, so that one pretty cool. As a Patriots fan, I've been wanting Harold Landry for the last 3 years, so this is great for me. 6, I have Chase Young going to the Chicago Bears, reuniting with Montez Sweat, creating a good defensive line there. Then I have Azeez Ojulari going to the Carolina Panthers. If he doesn't go to the Panthers, he's going to the Patriots. Book it. Then I have Joey Bosa joining the Commanders, who are going to still need some pass rushing help, and I think that he wouldn't mind going to a team that will offer him some money before he goes and joins his brother Nick Bosa. Next, I have DeMarcus Lawrence, who's going to be re-signed with the Cowboys. They restructured Dak, they restructured CD. I think that DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons are going to get their money. Next, I have Baron Browning. He's going to go to the Tennessee Titans, who now need to fill the Harold Landry role, and he has some potential to do that. Next, I have Dio Idabing. I don't know how to say his name. I'm not going to lie to you, but I think he's going to the Bengals, who also need a pass rusher. I didn't include Trey Hendrickson in this, and I'm not sure who really would trade for him. I'm not sure who would be willing to throw money at him. I wouldn't be surprised if the Detroit Lions or Commanders got interested in doing so, or the Philadelphia Eagles. Honestly, the more I think about it, I think the Commanders will make a trade for Trey Hendrickson, so include that in this list. Also, we're going to add Charles Omenihu to the Las Vegas Raiders. He's got a good potential for them, and I think Pete Carroll will take a chance on him. Moving on to the interior defensive line, the top interior defensive lineman free agent is Milton Williams, and I think he's going to go to the New England Patriots. They have a lot of money and not a lot of great free agents, so they're going to give him top dollar despite maybe him being also a system guy with the Eagles. Next, I have Javon Hargrave. I think he's going to go to the Minnesota Vikings and really thrive in that Brian Flores defense. Next, I have Calais Campbell, who I think is going to go to the Los Angeles Rams. Would love for him to be in LA, and the Rams could use the D-line veteranship, help teach some of those young guys up there. Next, I have Jonathan Allen, who was released by the Commanders. I think he's going to go to the Chargers, who are going to need defensive line help as well. We know Harbaugh loves his defense. Then I have Jerron Reed going to the Chicago Bears, who are going to need a defensive lineman as well. They're really revamping here with Chase Young and Jerron Reed, make that defense prominent once again. Next, I have Tershawn Wharton going to the Arizona Cardinals. They could always use a defensive lineman. Their defense was atrocious last year. Next, I have BJ Hill going to the Saints. I don't have the Saints signing very many players. They have no cap space, but I can see them getting BJ Hill. The Bengals had a bad defense, so I think they're going to try to sign both Poona Ford and DJ Jones to help improve that run defense there. Next, I have Sebastian Joseph Day going to the San Francisco 49ers. I think this is one of the more locked in ones. I think they could use a cheap option that's still highly produced for them in the interior defensive line. And finally, I have Levi Onwuzurike to the Carolina Panthers, who also could really love that. Could use the run defense as well. Next, I have inside linebacker, which 3 of them have already been re-signed to their teams, and Nick Bolton, Ernest Jones, and Jermaine Sherwood. So there's really only 3 other guys to talk about. The first is Dre Greenlaw, who I think the Washington Commanders are going to throw money at. And if they don't, I think the Arizona Cardinals will pay to get Dre Greenlaw on that defense. So next, I have Robert Spillane, and I think he's going to go right back to Las Vegas. However, before I made this, I did put the Buccaneers, so I think they could be a sneaky one to pair with Levante David. And then finally, I have Tyrell Dodson going back to the Miami Dolphins. A couple of re-signs here. Free agency is never as exciting as it actually seems. And then finally, we're moving on to the longest part of this, the cornerbacks. This is where I believe the top 15 NFL. This is where I believe the top 15 cornerbacks will end up in free agency, starting off with Carlton Davis and Jonathan Jones. I believe both of them are going to go to the Jacksonville Jaguars. They need secondary help so bad that they will overpay for those 2 guys. I don't think they're going to get the top guys, but those 2 guys could make a massive impact in Jacksonville and help them rise to the top in that weak division. Next, I have Travarius Ward going to the Minnesota Vikings. I'd love for them to get some veteran leadership there and just an elite corner that can stay there for multiple years. They keep getting guys in rotation. With that being said, I think they'll also lock down Byron Murphy and lean all in on the defense. You may know JJ McCarthy is not going to will you to victory, so having an elite top 2 defense would be crucial for them, and paying those 2 guys would be awesome. Next, I have Jair Alexander. I believe he's going to get traded, so I'm including this in here, and I think he's going to get traded to the Los Angeles Chargers. I think they make a huge swing, go get an elite cornerback, upgrade over Asante Samuel, who I believe is going to go to the Los Angeles Rams. I know the Rams have some sneaky money that they can use, and getting a young guy like Samuel locked in for 4 years, $48 million, I think would be a fantastic move for them. Then I have DJ Reed going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is the most Steeler move I could ever imagine, is a guy like DJ Reed going there. You can't tell me I'm even wrong. And then on top of Jair Alexander going to the Chargers, I believe Paulson Adebo also will go to the Chargers, but also I would not be surprised if he landed in New England. Next, we've got Darius Slay to the Detroit Lions. He's got to go back home, but also he's been interested in playing for Mike Tomlin, so don't be surprised there. Then I have Christian Fulton going to the Giants. I have Nate Hobbs returning to the Las Vegas Raiders. I got Jordan Lewis also returning to the Cowboys, and then I have Stephon Gilmore going to the Washington Commanders. You may notice the Chargers, Patriots, and Commanders are getting a lot of players. It's because they have a lot of money. Next, I've got Rasul Douglas going to the Chicago Bears. They need the secondary help still. They could use a guy like him to help mentor Tyreek Stevenson and Jalen Johnson. Stevenson definitely could use it, as we saw against the Commanders during a Hail Mary. Next, I've got Mike Hilton. Who would want to sign him? Picture in your mind who would be willing to sign Mike Hilton after the year he had last year. There's only 2 teams that come to mind, and they're in the same state, so I'll give you a second to think about it. Yeah, the only 2 teams I can see signing Mike Hilton are the New York Jets and the New York Giants. They're the only 2 franchises I can think are desperate enough ever to sign a guy like Mike Hilton. It's kind of like signing Eli Apple, in my opinion. And then finally, James Bradberry. I think he ends up in Atlanta, who they could always use a corner. Their defense was terrible last season. So finally, the final 10 players, this is where I believe the top 10 safety free agents in the NFL are going to land, starting with Javon Holland. He's going to the Indianapolis Colts. They have a good amount of money that they can throw at him, and they need to improve the safety position. Next, I have Julian Blackmon, the former Colt. I think he's going to end up with the New York Giants. They also need a safety, but I don't think they're going to be able to land one of the top ones. Next, I have Trayvon Moherg to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Once again, I said earlier that they need to improve their secondary desperately, and this is how they're going to do it. Then I have Justin Reed to the Miami Dolphins. I think this one is a good one. I also think he could end up in Cincinnati as well. He seems like a guy that would fit perfectly in their scheme. Then I have Cameron Bynum. For his sake, he needs to stay with the Vikings. He really, really is crucial for them. But also, I think that is his best spot possible, being with Brian Flores and the schemes that they play with. The way that he is able to be used there is perfect for him. I'm not sure if we would perform as well in a place like New England, a place like New Orleans, stuff like that. And then finally, or next, not finally, I've got Talona Ufanga going to the Houston Texans. I know I haven't said the Texans very much or at all, but we saw last year that they were pretty aggressive, and I think they'll be aggressive again today, or I guess in the coming weeks. Then I have Andre Sisco going to the Carolina Panthers, who fits that cover 3 perfectly across the middle. They desperately need a safety as well. And then I think Jeremy Chin ends up with the Chiefs, replacing Justin Reed. I think Justin Simmons goes back to the Denver Broncos, who he never got to experience playoffs in his tenure, but hopefully next year he hopes to return and get that kind of fruition. Finally, I have Jordan Whitehead going to the Atlanta Falcons. That is all 101 free agents. If you watched all that, comment something about who you believe your favorite team is going to sign, or who you want your favorite team to sign. Also, watch out for a Joe Milton trade. Wouldn't be surprised, but, well, maybe I would be surprised. I don't think that the Patriots should trade him, but that's all I've got. So hopefully you enjoyed. Let me know what your favorite team is doing this offseason, or what you hope they're going to do. Happy free agency, everyone. Hopefully we all can enjoy it as our respective fans. Unless you are a Miami Dolphins fan, I hope you have a terrible offseason. I'm not going to lie to you. Y'all should send Jalen Ramsey to the Pats. Anyways, hopefully you enjoyed this video, and happy free agency, everyone.